Hello and welcome to today's VMware webcast. Before we get started, there are a couple of housekeeping items that I would like to go over. First, we want to make this session as interactive as possible and encourage you to ask questions at any time using the question and answer box located to the left of the slides window. You can also use the question and answer box to get technical assistance if you should need it. The tabs located in the question and answer box are where you can find additional information about today's presentation. Today's presentation features streaming audio only, so there's no need to dial into a teleconference. You'll need to make sure that your computer speakers are turned up in order to hear the presenter and today's content. You can also fine-tune the audio by using the volume controls inside the media window. This presentation console allows you to interact and customize the layout to fit your viewing needs. You can collapse and expand any window on the console just like you would on your desktop by dragging the corners in or out. In addition, you can also maximize or close any of the windows on your screen by clicking the corresponding icon in the upper right-hand corner of each of the windows. At any time, you can reset the console to the default layout and access additional presentation functionality using the widgets at the bottom of your screen. Now I'd like to turn things over to today's presenter to get things started.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Giffords. I am a Principal Solution Engineer with VMware, and with me I have Samir.
Yep, Samir Kadu, Partner Solutions Architect at AWS.
Today we're going to review a little bit of a deep dive into extending your data center with VMware Cloud on AWS. As an overview, VMware and AWS went to market with a solution a couple of years ago and was able to deliver a jointly engineered cloud solution, providing the best of both worlds with vSphere's hypervisor and SDDC on AWS's bare metal infrastructure and global presence around the world. This partnership has been extremely strategic and successful thus far and has provided a ton of value for a lot of customers looking to leverage the SDDCs and VMware Cloud on AWS as a solution as a whole. Today we'll review some of those use cases as well as some of those scenarios in which we talked about. As a level set, VMware Cloud on AWS has been able to successfully deliver SDDC as a service to customers. By that, we mean that delivering vSphere, NSX, and vSAN at a policy-based level into VMware Cloud on AWS gives them the ability to consume the foundation components of our SDDC. So leveraging compute-based, storage-based, and network-based, policy-based management, we have the ability to operate and manage our vSphere infrastructure for customers, just as if they would do so in their private cloud. So delivering the platform via Cloud Foundation on premises today, as well as delivering SDDC as a service and VMware Cloud on AWS. Within VMware Cloud on AWS, we deliver on 5 pillars of the service. The first is delivering that rich SDDC experience as a service in AWS's data centers on their bare metal services, giving customers that consistent operations between vSphere environments that they're familiar with on premises today. The ability for us to do that leverages and enables a whole bunch of different use cases in the hybrid scenario, which we'll review as far as data center extensions. The ability for us to enable customers to migrate their workloads seamlessly from on-premises to the data center in the cloud is really the paramount component of our ability to deliver that service as a vSphere platform on both ends. This is extremely valuable for customers, especially if they leverage existing AWS services today. So we have the ability to extend and operate a lot of our technology and interact and integrate with cloud-native services within AWS. It gives us the ability to provide access and infrastructure architects, the ability to change some of the applications of the way that they function, as well as up-level some of their services. Of course, we have the ability to deliver new applications and new architectures that give customers the ability to extend their competitive advantage over other customers, as well as leaps and bounds in their market as far as market adoption and technology. When we talk about a lot of the use cases around VMware Cloud on AWS, we tend to bucketize these into 4 categories: data center extension, disaster recovery, cloud migrations, and application modernization. One of the things that is really paramount around VMware Cloud and AWS is focusing on what customers are trying to solve and the use cases around that. And this has really driven a lot of the direction of the service, as well as a lot of the use cases that are coming out of this. To focus specifically, there's really good examples like Playtika and Trend Micro, which they leveraged this technology to essentially expand their existing on-premises infrastructure into the cloud and give them the capability of growing their infrastructure as they needed to grow their infrastructure to support their applications and growth. Customers like PHH Mortgage, which give the ability for them to provide a easy-to-use and easily testable and repeatable process to validate and test DR strategies and VCDR plans, gives them the capability of testing those failovers and validating that those services and solutions are functional in the cloud. Customers like Black Mountain give us the example of a full data center evacuation where they have the capability of migrating their workloads outside of the data center and essentially turning off the lights in the back end. And those customers that are looking to do those big scale, large migrations with technologies like HCX, this is a very powerful solution to do so. Finally, technologies within the platform and that land on vSphere give customers the ability to update some of their their architecture to modern application architecture. Stagecoach is a classic example of this, where they needed to combine forces of technology within vSphere as well as some of the technologies in the AWS native platform to build out some of their new competitive architecture, and went to market as a differentiator to handle competitive bids for business. So that was a very exciting opportunity for customers that are leveraging Stagecoach as well as their platform. So as a whole, VMware Cloud on AWS, the service overview is pretty simple. We deliver the SDVC as a service on AWS's bare metal infrastructure. So we deliver vSphere, NSX, and vSAN as a service, as a complete unit and bundle. And customers have the ability to spin those services up in under a few hours and give them the capability of delivering an SDVC into their infrastructure by connecting it back onto their on-premises services, as well as extending connectivity with a high-speed, low-latency network connection into AWS native services. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to focus on today is really primarily around the data center extension, around extending the private cloud into into VMware Cloud on AWS. But it doesn't stop customers from architecting very interesting solutions to extend into AWS as well. VMware Cloud on AWS is a VMware service. It's sold, supported, and operated by VMware. This gives customers the familiarity with our world-class support and technology around that to have this same experience when we talk about operations and upgrades to the service itself. So vSphere, vSAN, NSX, all the core components around VMware Cloud and AWS have been intrinsically integrated into the model and into the infrastructure, and give us the ability to work in lockstep with AWS to provide the ability for infrastructure availability as well as service availability. This gives us the ability to upgrade and act quickly on zero-day threats for technologies, as well as give us the ability to patch and upgrade as the features and components within the service grow. Our expansion into multiple regions has been going on for a while. We are now in 13 plus regions at the time of this recording. We're focusing on delivering the last data centers within the Q2 timeframe for 2019. There is some expansion happening later in the year into Europe, China, as well as the second Glove Cloud region in the East in the US. These technologies give us the ability to just land our vSphere footprint into the AWS data centers across the planet at a global scale and a rapid pace. We've delivered this solution in multiple regions, and most services today are fully dependent on this service as well. One thing that's very notable around VMware Cloud and AWS to be able to deliver applications at scale, as well as highly available infrastructure for those business critical applications. So customers have the ability to leverage our technology to extend their data center and extend their clusters and their SDDCs across multiple regions. This gives customers a robust infrastructure to host their business critical applications and production environments within a data center without the worry of any type of failure at the infrastructure level. And leveraging a lot of the technologies like traditional vSphere technologies like HA and DRS to span across the infrastructure and give them the uptime that they need for some of the business applications. One thing to note is we have the ability to deliver this, our storage policy-based metrics and technology that we do on premises with vSAN in the cloud. So giving customers the ability to have like-for-like storage management and policy-based management at that layer gives them the capability of setting those SLAs, setting those requirements for that storage underneath the covers in both the cloud as well as on premises today. The customer has that benefit of managing and operating as they see fit to dictate what their technologies require underneath the covers to host those applications. vCenter Cloud, sorry, just had a stutter on the recording there. vCenter Cloud Gateway gives us the capability of extending our data centers, and I'll hand it over to Samir to keep going on some of these components.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So one of the key things to keep in mind with vCenter Cloud Gateway, so you have that quick, easy way to manage your on-premises vCenter, your VMware Cloud on AWS vCenter as well. And then also if you want to extend your VMs to communicate and utilize any native AWS services, you have the option to do so. So now you have that hybrid management from on-premises where you can manage your VMware Cloud on AWS extension as an extension of your on-premises environment. You can configure vCenter hybrid link mode as well to utilize that single pane glass view where you log into one vCenter and manage your on-premises environment, and then also your environment that exists in VMware Cloud on AWS. You don't really need to even have any AD dependencies in place in regards to utilize it from an identity source as well. And then also some of the other things that come with hybrid cloud operations. So you have that single view for your hybrid cloud management. You have the hybrid link mode, which provides that operational consistency between your on-premises environment and your VMware Cloud on AWS SDDC. So that allows for the consistency to take place. Your on-premises vCenter connects to the SDDC vCenter as well. And then also, if you want to go forward with any cold migrations or even vMotion, you can take care of that all from the UI. So this can be per VM basis, depending on EVC, which will support the cloud cross-cloud migration for the vMotion as well. And then as far as having a simple migration to the cloud, you have the vMotion of VMs from your on-premises environment to your SDDC. this can utilize that layer 2 VPN connectivity. So now you have that ability to seamlessly vMotion a VM from on-premises to VMware Cloud on AWS. You don't need to power off the VM. So your VM is up and running. It's a live vMotion taking place. You don't need to even have to worry about re-IPing that VM. So whatever IP address that VM has, you can have that VM retain that existing IP address. So there are bandwidth requirements, so keep that in mind. So as far as requirements for this, it's 250 megabits per second of bandwidth per vMotion. And then this does require an AWS Direct Connect to guarantee that bandwidth requirement that is needed. So you have two options to go about it as far as connectivity, and then you do have the vMotion option where you can utilize that as well. And then as far as hybrid cloud extension, this is going to give you that quick, easy way as far as application mobility at scale, the infrastructure hybridity, and even being able to take care of large-scale migrations. So let's say your on-premises vCenter server is at 5.0, 5.5, but rather than going through an upgrade process and still being able to utilize VMware Cloud on AWS, you can deploy hybrid cloud extension, which is included with VMware Cloud on AWS, to allow you to have that cross portability of your VMs as far as migrating it from on-premises to VMware Cloud on AWS. And then now you have that hybridity model to take place as well between your on-premises environment and your SDDC and VMware Cloud on AWS while maintaining security as well. So as far as from a network security standpoint, as far as maintaining that connectivity between on-premises to your SDDC and VMware Cloud on AWS, security is accounted for through that VPN tunnel that's created as well. And then one of the key things to keep in mind is vCenter Content Library. So this allows you to automatically synchronize your user content across multiple cloud instances. So think about having your on-premises environment where you're being able to distribute your content effortlessly. So maybe this is with your OVAs, your ISO images, scripts, templates, whatever the case might be. Now you have a quick, easy way to manage that all centrally while just giving your SDDCs access to that content library and sharing that information when needed. You do have the ability as far as cluster expansion and contraction. So this is one of the key benefits to keep in mind with VMware Cloud on AWS. So it's flexible where it can expand out and contract when needed as far as the amount of hosts that are needed in your cluster. And then as far as expanding and adding a host to your environment, it takes several minutes. And then as far as removing it, you can have it removed from your environment when no longer needed. So pretty much you can specify the number of hosts to add or remove from your cluster when needed. Then hosts are added again within multiple minutes when needed. And then hosts are removed from your cluster as well. And then any of the VMs that reside on that particular host are obviously evacuated through that vMotion process to the other hosts that exist in your cluster. And then as far as Elastic DRS, you have that ability to scale your host for on-demand requirements. So think about where maybe you need to scale up only for storage, maybe you want to optimize for best performance of your environment, maybe you want to optimize for lower cost. You have the flexibility to choose which scenario you want to adapt your environment to. So this is enabled at a cluster level. It automatically scales your cluster based on the utilization that you specify. And then this is monitored in intervals of 5 minutes. So by default, this is enabled for storage only as far as scaling up. It scales up when any resource crosses predefined thresholds that you specify. And then as far as scaling down, it scales down when all resources consistently remain below the threshold that's specified. And then as far as connecting your clouds, you have the option to connect to VMware Cloud on AWS between your on-premises environment, either by leveraging AWS Direct Connect. So this is going to give you that ability to have that private connection over a secure tenancy, allowing fast connection as far as depending on the connectivity speed you choose with a Direct Connect partner. You can utilize an IPFIX VPN as well. You can make this where it's route or policy based with your existing network infrastructure, or if you want to even deploy a standalone NSX edge, you can do so as well. This will all give you that ability to, again, have that hybrid connectivity take place between your on-premises vCenter environment and your VMware Cloud and AWS SDDC. And then as far as interconnectivity with Direct Connect, you have the option where NSX is integrating into your AWS Direct Connect to allow you to have that end-to-end private networking. So through that high bandwidth and low latency connection for your traffic, you have the option where your VMs on premises can quickly and easily vMotion to your SDDC and VMware Cloud on AWS. All your traffic is pretty much going over that Direct Connect. And then if you have that IPsec VPN for your encrypted traffic, you can utilize that as well. Again, the IPsec VPN is not required, but it is an option to utilize if you do want to go down that path as well. And then as far as your connectivity goes, between your hybrid connectivity between your on-premises environment and VMware Cloud on AWS, you do have the option where you can set up micro-segmentation or even distributed firewalls. So let's say you want to have granular control for your east-west traffic between your workloads, you can do so. If you want to even have simplified policies, which are based on applications. So let's say it's based on VMs, as far as the names of the VMs, or even user-defined tags. Now you have the option to utilize micro-segmentation. And then also, let's say you want to utilize policies which follow your workloads between your on-premises environment and your SDDC and VMware Cloud on AWS. Now you have that quick, easy way to allow for that to take place as well. So with your consistent operational tooling for monitoring and security, you have that granular flow and packet level visibility through IPFIX and Port Mirroring. So pretty much your network flow and packet visibility for monitoring and troubleshooting can take place. If you want to plug into your current visibility tools for your on-premises environment or even with VMware Cloud on AWS, you have the option to do so. And even packet logging can be accessible through Log Intelligence as well. So you have multiple options to take care of your monitoring of your environment and even protecting your environment from a security standpoint as well. And then lastly, as far as optimizing your connectivity to native AWS services. So you have the option where your VMs in VMware Cloud on AWS can utilize any of the AWS services that have endpoints as far as where traffic then goes over that cloud ENI rather than going over the internet connectivity. And then now you have VPC to VPC traffic that takes place. So this is something to keep in mind as far as when you're leveraging any of the native AWS services and as far as minimizing your costs, you have that quick, easy way with a low latency, high bandwidth connection to take place between the workloads that exist in your SDDC and the native AWS services as well. So as far as that, you have that option where any of your VMs, if they want to interact with any of the native AWS services, you have that quick, easy way to do so. Network connectivity from that standpoint, you have NSX being the overlay to your VPC and VMware Cloud on AWS, which is going to take care of that traffic flow for you. And that's going to optimize that traffic flow as well. So you have that quick, easy way to even go down the path where if you want to mix and match services, by all means, you have the freedom to do so.
Thanks, Samir.
Thank you.
Switching gears a little bit, leveraging a lot of the technologies that Samir just spoke about, we have the capability of leveraging other technologies as well. One of the premier use cases for data center extension is following a lot of the applications. You also have the capability of leveraging technologies like Horizon 7 for VMware Cloud on AWS. When customers have technologies like virtual desktops and Horizon technologies within their private infrastructure, it's a very quick conversation to enable technologies like data center extension for desktops, as well as leveraging technologies in the Horizon suite for end user compute to deliver technologies to promote more adoption of VMware Cloud on AWS and app locality to those applications. The ability for us to move those applications into the cloud is a first start into a full migration of the data center. Technologies like desktops that depend on those applications also need to follow. We also have the technology to provide a disaster recovery and business continuity for on-premises deployments of VMware Cloud on AWS, Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud on AWS. So leveraging vSphere in the cloud gives us the capability of extending those cloud pods and technologies for Horizon 7 in those infrastructure components. We also have the ability to provide burst capabilities and temporary capacity for VMware Cloud and Horizon 7 on VMware Cloud on AWS, as well as providing quick test environments for those infrastructures that rely on those technologies. Cloud pod architecture is a big component of VMware Cloud on AWS's implementation of VMware Cloud with Horizon 7. Giving us the capability of leveraging existing cloud pod architecture and including VMware Cloud on AWS as one of those global data layer components for Horizon 7 hybrid cloud technologies, giving us the ability to land the footprint of Horizon 7 in those SDVCs. Think about the Horizon 7 deployment as an application that is managed and operated by you, the customer, and giving them, you the capability of managing, operating, and upgrading and managing all the OS components as well as the user experience, app volume configuration, as well as the instant clones for this technology. It gives us the capability of providing the infrastructure for you to land this desktop infrastructure on top of the infrastructure as well. This is not desktop as a service. This is an IaaS model for this infrastructure. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the solution as well. So this is not fully managed by VMware Cloud on AWS or the cloud services component. The Horizon 7 is user installed and user deployed and user managed. When we look at scalability, one of the big features around VMware Cloud on AWS is giving us the capability of extending the capacity of the cluster in very short order. The ability for VMware Cloud to expand and contract as the requirements needed for the infrastructure layered on top underneath the infrastructure for Horizon 7 gives us the capability of extending those desktops and providing capacity on the fly for off and on-peak usage areas during the day or during certain times of the month where desktop usage could increase in a substantial amount, and provide that ability to call back that infrastructure as you see fit, and the remaining desktops are unused and removed from the infrastructure as well. Switching gears, we're just going to highlight a couple components around the roadmap. One of the big benefits and highlighted features of the service as well is the visibility into our roadmap on the public website. This is the first service that is offering this out of VMware Cloud, out of VMware, and we're pretty proud of the ability for us to deliver this service as well as the roadmap going into it. One caveat is to understand the terminology for the lifecycle of the features within VMware Cloud on AWS. Available is denoted as a service or feature that is available for all customers when they consume the service as a GA service. All regions that support that feature and functionality will be enabled when the service and that feature is fully available. In preview means that it's still in test mode. We're providing limited access to certain customers, external and internal to VMware, to provide some validation and QA testing around what that feature means and how that feature operates within the service. Most of the time, that preview is about a quarter in length. Sometimes some of the features require more testing and could be extended for additional testing and validation of that service. Developing really means that there's active coding going on and the service feature is in development and being worked on. And planned essentially means that it's on the roadmap, but nothing has actually been concrete as far as architecture or coding within the system as well. So the service itself is available on our website at cloud.vmware.com/vmc-aws/roadmap. And if you navigate there, you can look at certain features depending on what category you're looking at, as well as what feature and functionality you're interested in. Now, keep in mind, that's something that is constantly changing and ever growing. So it's good to have that in as far as your bookmarks and take a look at what technologies you're looking at. If you have any particular questions specific to a certain technology, you can contact with any of your account reps or system engineers to go forward with that. Just as a note, our upcoming webinar is a deep dive in protecting your business with VMware Cloud and AWS and our disaster recovery solution, Site Recovery. So make sure that you register for the April 30th session at 10 a.m. Pacific. If you need more links and resources within this podcast, as well as the future websites, just take a look at some of the links here on the slide, and you'll be able to provide some additional information around this. With that, we're going to jump into Q&A, and then we'll be able to answer your questions live.